Trapp guided his rifle scope back in the men's direction, fixing it in place and studying the subject intently for anything he'd missed.
Fox, checkpoint Bravo.
This signal meant that the two Delta detachments had separated where the road forked into 2 lanes to enter the village. Trapp's heart beat faster. This thing was happening whether he liked it or not. He glanced at Sikorsky.
You good?
Yeah?
Me neither.
Checkpoint Charlie.
Trapp could hear the vehicles now. They were moving fast, but not recklessly. Probably 40 kilometers an hour, about as quickly as the Austrian-manufactured armored vehicles could go in a built-up environment without risking an accident. The smoker didn't seem to care. Panning back, Trapp saw the smoker drop his present cigarette, lit only a few seconds earlier, and crush it underneath his boot before disappearing back inside his shop. Trapp's stomach knotted with tension, his gut screaming that something was wrong with this picture. But still, Myers's words echoed in his skull. He didn't have anything concrete, and interrupting the strike element now might be as dangerous as letting them proceed into an ambush. Speed was critical, and doubt was like friction, slowing everything it touched. The first of Fox's armored vehicles skidded around the corner and became visible at the edge of Trapp's vision. The grumble of its engine was unmistakable. It was traveling without lights, but the heat from the engine glowed through his scope. It ate up the yards rapidly and reached the sedan halfway up the street in the blink of an eye. The car detonated with sufficient force to throw both Trapp and Sikorsky physically back, almost to the far edge of the building's roof. Trapp's helmeted head smashed backward and bounced off the roof, rattling his brains as a flash of light burned his vision. His mind was clogged, but he knew he needed to act. Men's lives were at risk. He just didn't know what he was supposed to do. Finally, he grabbed his radio and brought it to his lips.
Ambush!
He could barely hear his own voice over the ringing in his ears and the pops of secondary explosions in the street in front of him.
Echo! Bug the hell out! Now!
It was too late. A second brilliant yellow cloud of flame erupted 50 yards away on the other side of the village. Echo must have hit an identical IED. This Trapp had been meticulously prepared. Trapp dragged himself to the edge of the roof. A chunk had broken away from the front due to the force of the explosion, leaving a toothy gap. If anyone was on the radio net, he couldn't hear them. He could see the flames burning in front of him, but they did so silently. At least it seemed that way. He was seeing double. He shook his head to clear it, but the issue persisted. His chest ached from the force of the pressure wave, and his hearing rang incessantly. He squeezed his eyes shut, and as he did so, he felt something hard coming down on his back. He rolled over and stared up, reaching for his weapon as his brain signaled a threat, but saw Sikorsky instead. Trapp realized he was just warning him of his presence. His friend's features finally resolved at the same moment as the ringing died away and the sound of the world returned. Flames hissed on the street below, as well as something altogether more concerning: gunfire. Sikorsky pointed out at the village. Blood was trickling out of his left ear. Trapp stared up at him absently. His chest heaved, and his head slowly began to drop back as though it weighed 100 pounds. It would be so easy to fall asleep, to give in to what his body wanted. But he forced himself to resist. He could hear the gunshots now, and the occasional RPG detonating. He pushed himself up into a kneeling position and brought his rifle to his shoulder. The quiet little village of Ali Daoud had turned into a war zone. In the street below, the first of the 2 Pandur armored vehicles had rolled onto its side. Smoke poured out of the upper wheel well, and flames licked its scarred armor. It was instantly clear that this was the most intense battle he'd ever experienced, and it was only just getting warmed up. The second Pandur hadn't fared much better. It had escaped the worst of the damage inflicted by the detonation of the car bomb, only to hit a mine buried in the road. A crater was now gouged into the earth where it had been laid. Like the first, this Pandur wasn't going anywhere fast. There was worse news to come. At least a dozen insurgents had appeared from seemingly nowhere. Trapp now understood the meaning of all those darkened buildings and were raining small arms fire down onto the crippled vehicles. Sikorsky began calmly and methodically engaging targets.
Fox! Anybody alive in there?